I am very happy to give this lecture as a part of Faculty of Arts and Science, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. Myself, Dr. D. Krena Hanides, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Computer Applications, Faculty of Arts and Science, based Bihar. My course subject is Web Technology. In that, specifically, I am handling XML. What is XML? XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. Using this XML, we can add our own tags. Why we need XML? XML is mainly used to send the data or transfer the data between the web pages. In the case of HTML, suppose if you want to send any information between the web pages, we have to send the tags as well as the data between the web pages. But XML send only the data. The data is of the form tag. So here salary is one tag. So within that the salary data is 3000 rupees. So only that information is extracted and sent to the web pages. In the case of HTML, it's very difficult to extract the data from the program, HTML program. So the extensible markup language is used to extract the data and transfer the data between the web pages very easily. What are the uses of XML? XML is used to transfer the data between the web pages. It is used to configure the framework in server. Not only that, it is used to design or create a layout for a web page. Then how to write a XML program? What are the rules for XML? The first one is we have to write the XML program using the tag. For every opening tag, we are having the corresponding closing tag. So every XML file should have a root tag. Within that, we may have any number of child tags. So you should follow some structure as well as you should contain the data. So these are the rules of XML while creating an XML program. And the next one, in XML, we are having the structure as well as the content or data. So the first one is structure can be defined using document type definition, that is nothing but DTD. And the content can be defined using schema that represent what are the data need to be stored that will be specified in the schema. What are the features and characteristics of XML? XML is nothing but extensible markup language. It is not like any other programming language. It's like a HTML program. So you should have the tags. So you should have the tags or markups in the language. It is used to store the data as well as to transport the data. It's not an exact replacement of HTML. So it should have additional characteristics and features than HTML. XML is designed to be self-descriptive. We can create our own tags. XML is used to carry the data, not to display the data, not to display any information on the web page. XML stores the data in a separate HTML file. So the XML program is stored somewhere and the XML data is stored as a separate HTML file. So the tags are not predefined tags. We must define our own tags. The XML program is platform independent. So we can move the XML program anywhere between the operating system. It's a language independent. It simplifies the data sharing compared to HTML program. Not only that, it increases the data availability anywhere within the web page or between the web pages. It's case sensitive, and not only that, XML tags are user-defined tags. We can create very readable tags. So the entire program is a readable program. So while executing the program and saving the program, you have to save with the extension .xml. These are the features and characteristics of XML. So this is the XML structure, hierarchical structure. So XML program should start with question mark XML. Then you have to specify the version or an optional encoding scheme. So here we have specified UTF-8. It stands for Universal Character Set Transformation Format. So in that we may have any number of child elements, but we are having only one root element. So here college is one root element. Within the college we are having the child element class 1. Within the class we are having another two elements, that is name and roll number. So the class 1 tag over, we can easily understand class 1 tag contains the element name and roll number. Similarly, the class 2 data contain name and roll number. So we can create any number of child element within the root element college. This is the hierarchical structure of XML. So here we are using the version 1.0, but the program is XML program that will be identified by specifying the question mark XML. This is the hierarchical structure of any XML program. Another example. So here we are having one student's tag. Student's tag is the root element. Within the student's tag we are having student child element. Then within that we are having name and marks. Another two element. Then again we are closing this student. Then again the same structure we are following for the next data. RN marks is 60. So we are having two data, student data, that is stored under the tag students data. So this students tag follow the structure, student structure, that is name as well as the marks. So we can define the structure in XML. What is the difference between HTML and XML? So HTML, it is used to display the data, but in the case of XML, it is used to transport the data and share the data between the web pages. HTML is fully markup languages. It does not provide any framework for the server. But in the case of XML, it provides the framework for markup language as well as it provides the framework for server. So it's not a case sensitive HTML. XML is case sensitive. HTML contains only predefined tags. User cannot define their own tags, but XML contains user defined tags. We can create our own tags. HTML is used to create static web pages, but XML is used to create dynamic web pages. So these are the difference between the HTML and XML. And the next concept is XML namespace. What is XML namespace? So XML namespace is, suppose if you want to identify the resource, we have to use the namespace. So it is declared using the XML NS attribute. So this is the general form. So element XML NS, you have to assign the URL, that is uniform resource locator, or the address of the internet resource to the name. Then if you are declaring or defining any element, that element will be taken from this URL only. Suppose if you are specifying two tables, you want to refer one table, then that table is from this URL that you can specify using the namespace attribute. So here the syntax, you have to specify the element name, XML namespace, then name is equal to URL. So this is an example of XML namespace. So this is a part of the XML coding. So XML version 1.0 encoding, then UTF-8. Then here in the second line XML NS. So XML NS is contact information. That is, that contact information specifies this URL http:// s1contact. So from this we are defining the one tag, that is defining one element contact. Then hereafter we are referring directly the namespace contact. So within that CONT, within that CONT we are having three tags: name, company and phone number. So this cont or this name company phone will be identified from this namespace cont. So this cont stores the information of the web page or URL http://s1 contact. So this is the namespace attribute. So XMLNS is used as a XML namespace attribute to avoid the name conflict. We are using this concept in XML. This is the best example for XML namespace. If you look at this example, we are having one root element, root. Within that, we are having two tables, H table as well as F table. So here, H specifies http://www.abc.com tr/html4. This is one URL. That URL is stored in H. Within that, I am defining one table. So, if you want to refer this table, then you can use this namespace value, that is H. htr. So, we are creating one table row. Then we are storing the table data arrays. We are storing another data bingo. Then I am closing this table row. So then closing the table H table. And the next, if you look at the second part, F is equal to http://www.xyz.com/furniture. This is another source, another URL. So that value is stored in F. So XMLNS:/F. So here also we created one table, F table. Within that we are having one name, then width as well as the length we specified. So in the name we are mentioning the computer table, then width, then length. So we are having three elements, three attributes within the table. So we are having, that is in the first namespace H we are having one table. It contains two names. And in the second URL, we are having three attributes, name, width as well as length. So we are, suppose if you want to access the table from the first one, you have to use the namespace H. If you want to access the second table name, you have to use the namespace as F. So in order to avoid the name conflict, we are using the XML namespace. Next is the default namespace. The default namespace is used in the XML document to avoid prefixes in all child elements. So here is an example. So here we are having one URL, that is http://www.javatpoint.com/java tutorial. That is assigned to the default namespace XMLNS. So here we are not assigning this URL to any other values, so that it will take only the default namespace. So directly we can use the element name, no need to prefix the namespace. So here tutorials is the element name. Within that I am having one root element tutorial, then title, author. Then again if you want to create any number of tutorial, then we can create within that tag tutorials tag. So this is the default namespace. When compared with the previous namespace, for each and every child element we have to mention the namespace name. But if we are using the default namespace, no need to prefix the namespace for each and every child element. Next is the XML schema. So XML schema is used to describe and validate the structure and the content of XML data. So as we studied earlier, XML data we can easily pass between the or transfer or share the data between the web pages. So whenever that information is entered into the web page, it will be checked against the schema as well as the document type definition. So this XML schema is a method of expressing the constraints. So it's like DTD, it provides more control over the structure. So whether that XML data follows the structure or not, that will be verified using the XML schema. So the XML document is a well-formed document or a valid XML document if it satisfies the XML schema. So XML schema, suppose if you are defining for a URL, then you have to mention that XML NS is equal to XS. That specify the XML schema. This is the name for the namespace. Then again we have to define the schema for this namespace, that is XS:schema. So this XML schema is used to describe and validate the structure as well as the content of XML data. We are having two types of schema, simple type as well as the complex type. In the simple type, we are having less attribute as well as the child elements, but any of the child element will not be empty. So here we are using the element XS, that is schema, and the name of the element is first name. That element should be of type string. So this is the simple type, XS:int. This is the schema. The value should be integer, and XS is string that specifies that value of that element will be of string type. So this is a simple type, but definitely you should have the value for the first name. So we have to define the name of the element as well as the type of the element. This is the simple type of XML schema. And the second one is complex type. So complex type, if you want to have multiple attributes and elements, we can define the tag as a complex type or the schema as a complex type. So it can contain additional sub-elements and it can be left empty. So it's not necessary to have all the elements to be filled in the complex type. That is the difference between the simple type as well as the complex type. This is an example of complex type schema. So XML version 1.0, then here defining one schema XS. That XS belongs to this URL. So here we are defining one element that follows the XML schema. The name of the tag is employee. It belongs to the complex type. What is the meaning? We may have multiple attributes, that is first name, last name, email. So, and everything should be in order. So first we have to mention the first name, and the second one is the last name, and the third one is the email. So we are mentioning here the schema should be in sequence. In the second line we are defining the schema for the URL, and in the third line we are giving the name for the schema, and that is the element name, and the third one we are mentioning the schema is of complex type. What is the meaning? We are having any number of elements and some of the elements may be empty, and XS sequence specifies all the attributes should be in order, in sequence. Then we are closing the sequence tag, complex type tag, and the element. If you look at this first name, last name and email, what are the types of this element? First name belongs to the string. This is the way of representing the schema. And the second one is string type. Third one is string type. We are mentioning what are the attributes that XML data should have, what type of data we have to store. That we are specifying in schema, but this schema belongs to the complex type. So we are having two types of schema, simple type or complex type. So this schema is used to define the structure and validate the XML data whether it belongs to the schema or not. And the next one is the XML DTD. So XML DTD stands for document type definition. It defines the building blocks for the XML document. What is the actual structure? What are the elements we are having within that structure? What are the attributes we are having? That will be specified or defined using this DTD, that is document type definition. The main purpose is to define the structure of an XML document. XML document, suppose if you are having any XML program, then if you are having one data, employee data, what is the first field? What type of the field? What is the second field? Employee name or employee number. Then what type of data it is, that we are defining using the document type definition. And after that we are checking with schema as well as the DTD. If an XML document satisfies this schema as well as the document type definition, that XML document is a well-formed and valid XML document. So a well-formed and valid XML document is one which have been validated against document type definition. So that is, it conforms to the rules of a DTD. What is that rule? How many attributes we are having? What type of each attribute? So if a particular data we are receiving, that will be verified against the schema as well as the document type definition. If it's satisfied, then it is a valid XML document. Then what is the use of XML DTD? The first one is, it is used to describe the language precisely. Very exactly, clearly we can define the XML language. It is used to define the structure of XML. What is the structure we are following? Whether within the employee tag, what are the attributes we are having? What type of data we are having? So that structure we can easily specify using the XML DTD. Not only that, what are the list of legal elements we are having, and not only that, whether the data is correct or not, that will be validated against the XML document using this DTD. So how can we define this DTD? So this is the syntax. So exclamation mark, document type, element, then document type, definition, identifier. Then we may have any number of declarations. Then after that we have to close the tag. This is the syntax of XML DTD. So within the XML DTD we are having two types, internal DTD as well as external DTD. What is that internal DTD? If the elements are declared within the XML files, then it is called XML DTD. The document type definition is specified in the same HTML document, then it is called as a internal DTD. Suppose if the elements are declared outside the XML files, then it is called as an external DTD type. So document type definition, either we can define the DTD within the XML files or we can define outside the XML files. So what is the syntax we are following to represent internal DTD as well as external DTD? In the internal DTD, we have to mention exclamation mark, document type, then root element, then element declaration. Any number of declaration we can specify. Then we have to close with a closing angle bracket. Then in the case of external DTD, document type, we have to specify the root element. Then we have to specify the location of DTD. Which DTD we are following. So that is specified using the attribute name system. System is equal to file name. So in the file name, we have to specify the URL, address of the DTD we have to specify. That is the difference between internal DTD as well as the external DTD. In the case of external DTD, we have to mention the file name. This is an example of internal DTD. So here question mark XML version 1.0, then we are writing the encoding. So as we studied earlier, we have to mention the document type exclamation mark, then we have to specify element, root element. Then we may declare any number of sub elements. So what is the root element? Address. So in the address we are having three attributes, name, company, email. So the name, company, email, what is the type? Slash hash PC data. Hash PC data, parsable character data. That specifies the valid string text. So company is also a parsable character data. So it's also a valid text string. Similarly, email. So name, company, email, all these belong to the string or text type. So address consists of name, company, email. Then we are specifying, since it is a internal DTD, we are specifying that XML, within the XML we are mentioning name, company and email. Then what structure it should follow? The DTD we are writing within this XML. What is that? That is 3 address should have 3. So what are the name, company and email 3 attributes we specify within the address that will be mentioned in XML. So what are the values you are giving within name, company, email? It will be tested against the above DTD, that is address. So then all these values are string or text value that will be checked, because we are mentioning all these 3 data should be the text value. So here if you look at the entire example, then we are having one XML program. Within that we are having the valid data, that whether it is a valid data or not, that will be verified against this DTD. So this type of DTD is nothing but internal DTD. And the next one is the external DTD. It's the opposite to the internal DTD. So in this example, we are storing the above first one DTD, add.dtd, that we are storing in with the extension .dtd as a separate file. Then, so the same coding, address, within the address we are having 3 attributes, name, company and email. So name should follow the parsable character data and the company should follow the parsable character data. It is nothing but a valid string. Similarly, email, that is also a string. So this is saved as a separate file with the extension .dtd. And here we are writing an XML program. Within that XML program, we are having the tag, address tag, which is the root element. Within that we are having name tag, company tag, then we are having the email tag. So all these tags or this XML, all these tags data are validated against the add.dtd. Here we are mentioning that for document type address systems equal to add.dtd. So all the data in this XML only be evaluated or validated against this add.dtd, because we are mentioning systems equal to add.dtd, which is stored as a separate DTD file. So that DTD file we are invoking within this XML program. So if you are storing a DTD within a XML, then it is called as an internal DTD. If you are storing a DTD as a separate file, then it is called as an external DTD. And the next concept is XML with cascading style sheets. So can we combine the XML program with CSS? Yes, definitely. So the CSS is used to add the style, and this style can be mingled with XML document. So what is the use of this CSS? It is used to provide a look and feel environment to the web page. So how can we create a cascading style sheets within an XML? So we are having 3 types of style sheets, as we know very well: internal style sheets, external style sheets, embedded style sheets. So in this example, this is the above syntax. The above syntax shows how can we embed outside, that is external style sheets within our XML program. So this is the syntax: $XML style sheet type. Then we have to we are mentioning this is text / CSS. Then href specifies the address of that CSS. So we are studying about the external style sheets in this example. This is an example. We are writing the CSS program as a separate file. So here we are having college name. Then within that name or attribute, within that we are specifying the background color is blue. Then again name should be color is black, and the roll number should be should follow the color green. So this is the CSS we are specifying. So that CSS we are invoking within the XML. So what is that XML? Name of the XML? XML1 is the program of the XML. And here question mark XML style sheet, type is equal to double quotes text slash CSS, then href XML1.css. Here we are calling the tag college. That college tag should follow the background color as blue. And the next one, name of the tag XSX, that should be of color black. And the roll number color should be of green. Then I am closing the tag college tag. Okay. So what are the styles you want to give, that you have to write as a separate CSS file that can be invoked using an XML program. So XML program can be embedded with cascading style sheets, but this is an example of external style sheets. Next topic is XSL. So this is one of the main concept in XML. So XSL stands for Extensible Style Sheet Language. So this XSL is a language for expressing XML based style sheets. Suppose how to display an XML document, that we can specify using this Extensible Style Sheet language. So this consists of XSLT, which is used to transform any XML documents, and the next one, XPath, is a language for navigating or moving between the XML documents, and the XQuery is a language for querying XML documents. So this XSL consists of these three parts. Next is the XML with XSLT. As we studied, XSL is nothing but XML styling language for XML. Then XSLT stands for XML transformation. XML style sheet language transformation. It is used to transform the XML document into another XML document or another XML document type. So this XSLT is nothing but a W3C recommendation. World Wide Web Consortium recommended software is nothing but XSLT. So all the major browsers support this XSLT. So using this XSLT, we can add or remove the elements. We can add or remove the attributes. We can rearrange the elements or sort the elements. Suppose if we are having one employee tag, within that we may have the attributes first name, last name, etc. So if you want to add any elements within the XML program using this XSLT, we can easily add or remove the elements. Similarly, we can easily add or remove the attributes or sort the elements. One of the example of this XSLT is we can easily convert this XML to XHTML, that is dynamic XHTML program. So this XML with XSLT is used to convert any XML program to some other document. Then XSL consists of some of the element. So XSL template is used to build the templates, and XSL value of is used to select a particular value from one input document to another document. Suppose if you are having 5 attributes, if you want only the 3 attributes, we can select using this element. And XSL apply templates, if you want to make the use of a particular template, we can select using this element XSL apply template. And XSL for each element allow us to do the repeated iterations using the looping. And XSL sort display the elements in sorted order. Then XSL if is used to perform some condition against the data. So XSL if test is equal to year and greater than 2000. The meaning is the year should be greater than 2000. So that type of validation can be done through this XSLT element. and XML choose, XML when, XSL otherwise. So using this we can add multiple conditions within our XML program. So XSL is nothing but a XML style sheet language. XSLT specifies XML style sheet transformation which is used to convert to a particular document, and XSL consists of some of the important element which is used to extract a particular set of data based on the constraints. So far we discussed what is XML, what is the use of XML, what are the features, characteristics of XML, then how can we define the DTD, that is document type definition, what are the two types of DTD, how can we define the schema, then how to write a XML program, then what is XSL, how to define a namespace, what is default namespace, that is what is XSLT, how to transform one XML document to another document very easily, how to filter the data based on the constraints using this element. So that and all we studied in this lecture. So thank you all for watching this video. Have a nice day. Thank you.